it's Mal from Sparkly Belly. I have to admit, I've been putting off making a 25-yard tiered skirt for a long time. Even though I love the skirt, it's perfect for gypsy style or ATS style of belly dancing, and many people requested this tutorial. That's because this skirt has too many hurdles. Lots of sewing, lots of fabric, which means expensive, too much math and planning, and you need a serger and a ruffler foot, which I don't have. I know these hurdles are also stopping many people from making 25-yard skirts. But the summer weather made me want to twirl in one of these skirts. So I sat down and revised my ideas over and over again to make a doable and economical tiered skirt without compromising the drama of the 25-yard hem. Specifically, my version is 60% less sewing, up to 40% less fabric. I'll give you a handy calculator to skip the math, and you don't need a serger or a ruffler foot. I think it's the easiest and cheapest 25-yard skirt to make. It's a beginner-friendly project too. In this video, you'll see how I made it. Let's get started. To make a 25-yard tiered skirt, you need lightweight cotton or cotton blend fabric. Something very light like sheeting or broadcloth would be perfect. I'm using 45-inch wide cotton poly blend broadcloth here, and it was the most inexpensive option at my local fabric store. The fabric is somewhat see-through, and that's perfect. Anything thicker would make the skirt too heavy. How much fabric you need depends on your skirt length and fabric width. Go to my blog and you can download the free calculator to find out exactly how much fabric you need. Matching color thread. I used this 500 meter or 547 yard spool of thread, and I had a plenty left when I finished the project. 1 yard or 1 meter of 2-inch or 5 centimeter wide elastic, and 2 1/4 yards or 2 meters of 1/4 inch or 5 millimeter wide matching color cord. The construction of this 25-yard skirt is very simple. It has 4 tiers and the waistband at the top. 25 yards for the bottom tier, 12.5 yards for the third tier, 6 1/4 yards for the second tier, and 3.1 yards for the top tier. As you can see, each tier is half of the below tier, so it's easy to remember. The top of each tier is ruffled so that it matches the length of the tier above. So let's start by measuring your skirt length. Take your skirt length and add 3 inches or 8 centimeters for seam allowances, minus 2 inches or 5 centimeters for waistband, and divide it by 4. And that's the height of each tier. So for example, for me, my skirt length is 85 centimeters. Add 8 centimeters minus 5 centimeters and I get 88 centimeters. Divide it by 4 and the height of each tier for me is 22 centimeters or 8 3/4 inch. Now I'll show you how to make a 25-yard skirt using 45-inch wide fabric. But you could be using 55-inch or 60-inch wide fabric. So I've created a calculator to lay out exactly how much fabric you need, how wide each tier should be, and how many strips per tier you need. Go to my blog and you can download the calculator for free. The link is in the description. Now, this is how you cut fabric so you don't have to get lots of fabric and get lots of waste. First, fold the fabric in half lengthwise, which is the way the fabric would come on the bolt, and cut a 5.5 inch or 14 centimeter wide strip using the whole width of the fabric. This will be the waistband later. Then again, using the whole width of the fabric, cut 39 strips that are as wide as the height of each tier you calculated earlier. For me, it's 8 3/4 inch or 22 centimeters. Here, to skip finishing about 100 yards of raw edges, I used pinking shears. Pinking shears cut fabric in a zigzag pattern and prevent fraying. Most of these edges will be on the inside, so the look wasn't important to me. Of course, if you have patience, you can go ahead and do a rolled hem or use a serger. By cutting fabric this way, I only needed 9.7 yards of 45-inch wide fabric, which is about 3 yards less than popular methods, and I have much less waste. Also, the grain of the fabric will be vertical on the skirt, which means your skirt is less likely to stretch out over time. If you use wider fabric, you'll use even less yardage. Again, check the free calculator to see how much fabric you need. So we'll start assembling these 39 strips. We'll prepare long strips for each one of the tiers, then sew them together. Let's start from the top tier. Take 3 strips. Place 2 strips right size together and do a straight stitch at a 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Do the same with the other strip to connect the 3 strips. Then at one end, cut off 24 inches or 60 centimeters from the last seam with pinking shears so it won't unravel. You don't have to worry about other short edges because we cut the strips from selvage to selvage. Then bring the beginning and the end of this long strip, place them right size together and sew the ends together to make a whole circle. Here you have a 3.1 yard top tier. Moving on to the second tier. Connect 5 strips plus the leftover piece from the first tier together at ends and cut off 4 inches or 10 centimeters from the last seam. Sew the beginning and the end of this 6¼ yard long strip right size together. I'm showing this on the table, but you don't have to get up each time. You can just sit at your sewing machine and have all strips by your side and match up the strips there. It looks like a lot, but it's really a simple process. Next, connect 10 strips plus leftover piece from the second tier and cut off 8 inches or 20 centimeters from the last seam and sew the ends together. And finally, connect 21 strips and cut off 20 inches or 50 centimeters from the last seam and sew the ends together. This section was easy and it only took me about 30 minutes. Moving on. Now use your favorite way and hem just one of the long edges of the 25 yard tier. This edge actually shows when the skirt is finished, so it's best to finish it nicely by sewing a rolled hem. I used a rolled hem foot here, and if you don't have one, I recommend you get one since it's very useful for making dance costumes. Sewing a 25 yard long rolled hem wasn't too bad either. Now we'll sew adjacent tiers together to make a skirt. Normally, before you sew adjacent tiers together, you'd have to gather the longer edge with a ruffling foot or by hand, which is another 50 yards of extra sewing. So I skipped this extra sewing like this. First, take the longest 25 yard tier and the second longest tier, which is the third tier. And find those strips that you cut shorter in each tier and match up the seam right size together. And then try to match one whole strip of the longer tier into a half of a strip of the shorter tier. So basically, you're matching up the end of the strip from the longer tier to the fold line of the shorter tier. Then take a roughly halfway point of each strip and match them up. Then match up quarter points. You can just eyeball it. Take that to your sewing machine and start making about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter wide folds with your hands and as many fold as you need so that all the loose fabric of the longer tier disappears into neat pleats by the next pin. Again, I just eyeballed these since even if the pleats are inconsistent, there's just so much fabric going into this skirt and you won't even notice that the pleats are inconsistent. Just make sure the right edges are aligned neatly and simply do a straight stitch with a 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat this until you reach the end of the strips. Then match up a strip from the longer tier and a half strip from the shorter tier again. Take a roughly halfway point of each strip and match them up. Then match up quarter points. Then make folds and keep stitching. For those short strips, match them up exactly the same way. This is the most time-consuming part of this project, so put on good music or an audiobook and keep stitching. It may feel a little awkward to fold and sew at first, but you get used to it, and by matching fabric and folding pleats while you're sitting at your sewing machine really saves time. Once you get through this stretch of sewing, the rest will feel easy. Take the second tier, match it up with the third tier at the short strips, right size together. Match up a strip from the third tier and a half of a strip from the second tier, then halfway point and quarter points. Fold pleats and keep sewing. Once that's done, take the first tier and match up with the second tier. Sew them together by matching a strip from the second tier with half a strip from the top tier and folding pleats. Finally, take the waistband strip that we put aside earlier. Cut it down to your hip measurement plus 2 inches or 5 centimeters. Here, you can make a simple elastic casing by simply attaching this waistband strip and inserting elastic and call it a day. But since we saved a lot of sewing time already, I want to show you how to take it up a notch and create an even more professional look and a sturdier waistband. At the center of the waistband strip, mark 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter tall slits that are about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters apart from 1.5 inches or 3.5 centimeters from the edge, and sew buttonholes around them. It's basically a narrow zigzag stitch with the shortest stitch length around the lines, and open up the buttonholes. Fold 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter from the top edge towards the wrong side and press. Do the same from the bottom edge. Then fold the whole thing in half and press again. Then sew the short ends right size together with the 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance to make a circle. Take the bottom side of the waistband, which is the side with the buttonholes, and mark halfway points, then quarter points, and 1/8 points. Take the top tier of the skirt and also mark 8 points. Match up those 8 points right size together, and just like we did for other tiers, stitch them together while creating pleats. The pleats here are likely narrower than the rest of the skirt, so make narrower and more pleats so the loose fabric disappears nicely. Then fold the top edge of the waistband 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter and fold it over to cover the stitches on the wrong side. Do a top stitch with 1/8 of an inch or 2 millimeter seam allowance and leave a few inch gap open at the back. Take your elastic and figure out how much you need for it to be snug around your belt line. Add 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters to it and cut. Insert the elastic through the casing using a safety pin. Once it's gone through the entire casing, overlap the ends 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters and sew the ends together. And close the waistband by doing a top stitch. Now using a straight stitch, do a top stitch over the elastic band from 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter from the top, and another one from 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter from the bottom. Stretch out the waistband while you sew. This keeps the elastic from rolling around inside the casing and creates a channel for you to add a drawstring in. Take your string and insert it through the channel using a safety pin. Once it comes out, try it on and trim the string to your preferred length and tie a knot at each end of the string. The drawstring makes the waistband sturdier and helps hold up the skirt that's made up of yards of fabric. And now it's finished! Enjoy your 25-yard skirt! It's so exciting to wear your very own 25-yard tiered skirt, and the volume and flow is amazing! This tutorial was a bit long, but that's because I wanted to explain every step and so you don't have to do any guessing. It's actually a very simple skirt to make, and plus with all the shortcuts combined, the sewing was less than half of what it could have been had I done it the conventional way. And I saved about 3 yards of fabric and didn't need a serger or ruffler foot. You can also mix and match different fabrics for this skirt. And if you want to mix and match, you'll need to know how many strips go into each tier, and my free calculator will tell you exactly that. So go over to my blog and download the calculator for free. The link is in the description. Hope you like this 25-yard tier skirt DIY, and if you did, please share it with your dancer friends. And if you want to make more belly dance costumes, sign up for my free email course, Belly Dance Costume Making 101, from the link in the description. Thanks for watching and keep sparkling!